From the Fantasy Football Happy Hour desk, Con Rogers, Matthew Berry, and when Drew Brees retired, no player in NFL history had more fantasy points scored than Drew Brees. Brady ended up, sticking around longer, and ultimately, but still, a legend in fantasy football, a legend in the NFL, obviously a Super Bowl champion. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much, Drew, for stopping by.
Thank you. It's probably the thing that, like, when I get stopped in the airport, the grocery store, the most random places, it's always, man, you won me a lot of fantasy football championships. Thank you. So well, it's good to know.
Well, first off, yes, you were an elite player at a high level for a long time. So pretty much anyone that had you on their team, that was lucky enough to have you on the team, won fantasy championships. So I'm not surprised to hear that. The other thing that was great was that I believe that you and Sean Payton, you guys love to push the ball. You guys were like, hey, it's your job to stop us. You're up 30-14. You're like, screw it, I'm still throwing. Yeah. Michael Thomas is there, whatever. You're like, you're still throwing as well. I'm curious, so fantasy football comes up. Have you ever played it since you've retired? Have you tried it? Do your kids want to get into it?
I play it every year with my boys.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a league just with our family. Even my wife, Brittany, and daughter, Rylan, they had teams this year.
Nice.
We kind of helped pick for them, but
okay, sure.
Nonetheless, and then with all their buddies. So each of my boys are probably in 3 leagues every year, and then I play one big league with them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. We need some results here, Drew.
Who was on your team?
Drew, this is what happened this year.
Okay.
I actually, my boys pulled one over on me.
Okay.
So we drafted the team.
Right.
And I had a bunch of, like, sleeper picks.
Sure.
That, like, for example, I took Brandon Ayuk early.
Nice.
To start the season, he had a couple big fantasy games.
Yeah.
And inevitably what ended up happening is I had some guys that had big games, and so my boys, like, crashed the system and made it, like, talk to me into basically saying, like, hey, something happened, we have to redraft. And then they took all my good players in the redraft,
they got you.
I finished last.
They got you.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the name of the game was I win, and it wasn't me, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, Drew, I feel like you're the perfect person to ask this, right? Quarterbacks in the league right now that get drafted to start right away versus guys that sit. Jordan Love got to sit.
Yep.
Looked pretty good this year. Mahomes got to sit. We know what happened there.
Yep.
We've seen some guys crash and burn that had to play right away. Where do you stand on that as a guy that didn't play a lot as a rookie and then it all worked out for you going forward? Do you think is there a perfect science to it, honestly?
I think you learn a tremendous amount by sitting at least for a year, especially if you're behind a really established veteran player, and if you're in a functional, offense or functional system.
Yeah.
Like, look at Aaron Rodgers, right? Sat behind Brett Favre for a couple years, and then Jordan Love sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, right? Mahomes was behind Alex Smith, but with Andy Reid in that offense, right?
Yep.
And Alex Smith was playing at a Pro Bowl level. So, those are great examples. I had a chance to sit behind Doug Flutie, right? Tom Brady had a chance to sit behind Bledsoe for a year. Those are all great examples of. I think all those guys would say they learned a tremendous amount of football just by sitting, watching, observing, learning about preparation, learning about process, learning about structure and how to form your own routine. I certainly think it gives you a bit of a leg up.
Yeah.
Because just going in as a true rookie and being thrown into the fire like that, man, it's tough.
Yeah. And
I think it can make or break, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure.
And you just don't know how it's going to play out.
It seems like because there's such a big investment in a quarterback, it feels like that's the smarter play. And then C.J. Stroud goes out there and then just screws it for everyone else because people are like, we just have a guy.
There's the rare examples, but you'd say that's
the
not the norm.
Proves the rule.
Exactly.
He's an outlier.
Yeah, right. But I would say too that there's pressure on the teams to get guys on the field right away, because when you look at what the QB salaries are within the framework of the cap, you're trying to get as much value as you can while they're cheap, right?
Yeah.
And so if they sit for a year or two, then really you're only getting a year or two before you have to make a decision on whether this is your guy for the future, and we're going to put the 5th-year option on him, or we're going to extend him, and then that greatly affects your decision or your ability to go and secure other free agents.
Which is one of the reasons why it's interesting. Patrick Mahomes is amazing, but Brock Purdy, who's making less than $1 million a year, on a seventh-round rookie contract, is just an unbelievable bargain for the 49ers. Speaking of Brock Purdy, of course, he is the FedEx Air Player of the Year. You're involved with FedEx. You've been there for a long time, Drew. Talk to us a little bit about this award, and then also talk about what you're expecting out of Brock on Sunday.
Yeah. This is an awesome program. FedEx has done this for over 20 years. I had the chance to win the FedEx Air Player of the Year award 4 times during my career, and it's a tremendous honor. So this year, Brock Purdy, FedEx Air Player of the Year, proud to present that to him. And then FedEx Ground Player of the Year is Christian McCaffrey. So first time in history that you've had teammates who've won this award together. So maybe foreshadowing for Sunday, who knows? But also in exchange, FedEx is giving those guys $20,000 to give to the HBCU of their choice to fund scholarship programs for deserving students. So it's fantastic.
It is a fantastic program.
So Brock, obviously, I don't think any of us could have expected what he's been able to accomplish, especially as the last pick of the draft 2 years ago, coming in as a rookie. I would say this: it certainly he sat for a little bit, before he came in. He's in a very, very functional organization and system that's been architected, I think, masterfully by John Lynch and Shanahan. They've got an offense that really requires a lot from the quarterback position. Every play is a shift and a motion, right? And the timing as to motion landmarks and all those things are very critical, right? Like, it's a very highly detailed offense. He's got some playmakers around him to be able to spread it to, which is great. Got a great defense on the other side. All these things are great. But his poise, his command of the offense, the timing and rhythm with which he plays, and I think in large part that's because, look, the shorter guys, for us, I think the requirement of being able to play in rhythm and work through progressions and get the ball out on time is added premium. He's a much better athlete than I think anybody gave him credit for until maybe last week, when he took off and ran 3 times and really won the game. In my opinion, those were the three most defining moments of that game. And so for anybody who calls him a system quarterback, well, guess what? He just went outside the system and just won you that game. You know what I'm saying? And so it may not look like Mahomes, right?
Right.
But it's very effective.
Who wins on Sunday? You got a pick?
Here's the surprising thing about this, and obviously Vegas knows better when they start setting these lines, right? Like, I would have assumed that KC would have been the favorite. They weren't,
Same.
right?
Same.
San Fran's the favorite. KC obviously has the experience, and they've got the quarterback that can do anything, right? I feel like it's San Fran's time, They've knocked on the door here for a while now, and while this is a different quarterback than from those previous years, man, so many of those same elements are in place, and I think I think the way that they've won these last 2 games in the playoffs has done a lot for their confidence and their belief in what they can do. So, I don't know. I'll never count Mahomes out, though.
No, he beat Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen on the road 2 weeks in a row, so I agree with you. You never want to bet against Mahomes. We both like the Chiefs, but I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a great one, Drew. And just, if I can, for one moment, on behalf of fantasy football managers everywhere, thank you.
Big thank you.
Thank you.
Legend of the game.
Thank you.
Glad we can make that happen.
NFL legend, fantasy football legend, awesome. Drew Brees, thank you so much for taking some time with us today.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.